Hey guys, welcome back to another Towns Outdoor Adventure. Today we're here in my garage. I'm going to be talking about crabbing here on the Northern California coast. Dungeness season is starting on November 5th, which is a few weeks from now. With that being said, there are still some regulations up in the air, so this is just going to be going over some of the gear that you may or may not be able to use this season. I'll show you something you can definitely use this year. I bought a new crab ring this season, so I'll show you my full setup for that and the legality of what buoys you have to have, how you have to have them marked, the differences between traps and rings. I'll show you those, talk about some different things and some requirements on traps if you will be able to use them this year. That's still, like I said, I think up in the air. I think they're gonna make a decision like October 31st, something like that, and this video is shot well before that. This video will release before that, so you'll have to do your own research on the regulations and rules for your area, and particularly this area. Keep up to date with what they've got going on. This isn't an end-all be-all video for regulations on how to crab. This is just me showing you some gear that you've been able to historically use, and how I'm going to set up some gear that I believe you'll be able to use this year. Again, you'll have to check in on the regulations. But with that being said, let's get straight into it. Alright guys, we're going to go over some of the gear and some of the tools I'm going to be using today to kind of revamp my rings and trap here. Starting with this, I've got a bait bag here that has a clip on it. You'll see I'm going to put that in my new ring later. Here I have some seine leads, and those are going to be to weight down my crab rope, as I only have floating rope. There are sinking ropes available, I just don't have them attached on here right now, so I'll work with what I got. These are very important. These are marker buoys. It's a newer rule in California. It's not new this year, it was new last year. Yeah, it was new last year, maybe the year before. You have to have a 3x5 red marker buoy. It has to be red, it has to be 3 inches in diameter, 5 inches long minimum. Actually, that might have to be a specific size. It might have to only be that size. And it has to be within 3 feet of the end of your main line. So that means after your main marker buoy here, that has to also be 5-inch diameter, 11 inches long. So a 5x11 buoy. Doesn't have to be a specific color. This you can do your own patterns on to make identifiable to you. But you do have to have your Go ID printed, written, stickered, painted, something. It's a way to identify it. But it has to be I believe permanently affixed on there. Your Go ID, again, it's available on top of your fishing license. And then up here I have a little various assortment of tools I'll be using. Pocket knife, I have some rotten cotton here, and some shot cord which will play into my trap, which I'll show you here in just a minute and show you guys the differences between the trap and the rings. Alright guys, I'm showing you the difference here between a ring and a trap, which is very important here in California. Last year they took away traps at a certain point. This year they may take them away completely. You may not be able to use them. You might be losing part of the year, the whole year. Who knows? Anyway, here is a crab ring. Now this guy, the importance with this is it cannot be more than 36 inches across. This one here is a 30-inch. I just picked this up from work a few days ago. These guys, when they drop down, they go down, they lay flat on the floor of the ocean, wherever you're at. This buoy keeps the ring afloat. You'll have your bait in the center. When you pull up, it forms a conical shape to keep them in. You cannot have it permanently fixed or altered in any way to make this, make this rigid, make it stay up, anything like that. It is illegal. So with that in mind, let's move over to the trap. Now, this is a crab trap. There are several differences between the two. This is made to essentially keep the crabs trapped in there, so they can't necessarily get out. There is a very important feature. This here is called an escape ring, and in California it has to be 4 1/4 inches in diameter, inside diameter. That way smaller crabs can get out, and there has to be 2 on your trap, which this one has 1 here and 1 on this back corner up top there. This guy has 2 doors on it that swing inward. I added a little bit of lead weight to keep them closed. The shot cord's pretty worn out, so I'm going to replace that. I haven't used this trap in years, and they've actually made a very specific rule about this rotten cotton in the last few years since I've used this. This right now is not legal. it has 2 strands of this rotten cotton here, as you guys can see, 1, 2. That's not legal currently. Currently, you can only have 1 line of that rotten cotton, as it's called, and it has to be 120-pound twine. It can be no more than that. It can be less than that, but it can be no more than 120-pound twine. And that is in case you lose your trap, your whole door here can break away, and all the crabs and other wildlife that may be in there can get out. So, with that being said, I'm going to take you guys along for the ride as I set up this new ring here. I'll show you how I throw on my marker buoys, and I'm going to show you a new idea I have for weighing down this rope. So, stick around and find out what it's all about. Alright guys, I did forget to mention that I do have this old ring up here. I've had it for years. I've been using it since I was maybe, I don't know, 10, 12 years old. Has seen better days, you know, big hole and stuff like that. I have some twine. I'm going to retie that. I'm going to fix up the line inside, remark that buoy in there, get one of these marker buoys on there, some weights on the line, and I'm going to rely heavily this year on this ring and the other one I was showing you guys earlier. So stick around and you'll see how they'll both end up being set up. I'm going to set them up both the same, but you guys will see it on the new ring. Alright guys, first thing we're going to do, come over here, I'm going to grab my electrical tape, grab my knife, and I'm going to go ahead and grab 3 of these guys and find the end of my rope. I'm going to go ahead and just throw these down the rope. Actually, you know what? First, I'm going to go ahead and tape the end of this rope. That way, a few things. It doesn't unravel on me, number 1. And number 2, I can feed it through that weight a lot easier. Alright guys, there's one. Get the other ones out of my pocket here. Number 2. There's number 3. And what I'm going to do, didn't need my knife after all. Shouldn't be waving that thing around anyway. So I'll show you guys what I'm going to do with those later. But for now, I'm going to move on to step 2. Which, since it's already how the rope attached to it, cut to the right size, everything I needed already, I'm going to go ahead, grab my fresh, nice new main buoy. Go ahead and thread my rope through here. I might give myself plenty on the back end to work with. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to tie a knot down here first. Actually, need to tie several of them. Wow. And probably a few more here. What I gotta do is I have to make this big enough so my buoy won't slip through there. There's definitely a more efficient way and a better way to do this, but you know, it's gonna work for me. So now I gotta do get that main buoy on there. And now I'm actually gonna take one of these little stainless D-rings, locking D-ring deals I got right here. You see it kind of screws and unscrews there, but for now, I'm just gonna kind of leave it tightened up there. We'll see if I can't get this doubled up around through there. Get a nice good knot set in there. And then what I'm actually going to do is there's definitely more efficient ways to do this, especially if you know about splicing or, you know, some hog wire, something like that will be good. So I'm actually just going to take this electrical tape, I'm going to wrap it all the way back down. Try and get this in frame here. Just wrap this all the way back down. And Once I get down to the buoy here, I'll call it good. Alright guys, I'm going to finish this off here and then I'll show you how I'm going to attach my marker buoy. Alright guys, I got my main buoy attached to my line now. I've got it stopped here with a few knots. Fresh 5x11 main buoy. I've got to still write my go ID on there, but that'll come here in just a little bit. Got some electrical tape here tied on to this nice stainless D-ring. It's got like a threaded locking collar there. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to attach my red 3x5 marker buoy, and I'm going to just go ahead and thread this guy through the D-ring, and I'm going to actually grab it here and I'm going to wrap this whole thing through it. So I'm going to take a little bit of length out, pull it nice and tight on that D-ring. Now I have my marker attached to my the main buoy, stopped with the knots, going to the D-ring with the marker. And to show you here, remember this is a 30-inch ring, so that red marker buoy is within 3 feet of the end of my line. So therefore it's all legal, with the exception of I have to write my go ID on that buoy still. Now you might be wondering what I'm going to do with these weights. So what I'm going to do is, since this is floating line, I don't want to get wrapped up in anybody's prop, even though they shouldn't come near a buoy. So I'm going to take this a good, probably close to 10 feet down. And I'm going to take a hammer, and I'm going to smash the edges of this guy so it stays in place. And then I'm going to do that for a few more feet down. I don't want to get too close to the ring and the float because you don't want the rope laying down in it. So I'm going to go outside, hammer these down, and I'll show you guys the end result. Alright guys, I got it all finished up here. Here's my ring, generous amount of rope, unweighted so it can float. There I have my first weight spaced out for about 10 feet. I have my other weight, go up another 10-12 feet here to the next weight, and then again goes up to my main buoy here and my marker buoy. I'm going to slap my go ID on this once I get a nice big marker. So there you have it guys. That's how I have my crab ring set up, and on the beginning of the season you guys will see how effective it'll be. Catch you in the next one.